What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show, live here on a Friday afternoon. We told you guys the new schedule might get a little wonky for the first couple of weeks, but have no fear. We are here live on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube and Twitter channels. If you guys are new to the channel, if you want to support, if you want to help yourself out by getting involved in the show, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, and the link tree in our bio on our Twitter channel will take you directly to the DSM Philadelphia YouTube channel. It is the best and only spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with us. I'm one half of your host, Dylan Davis. To my right today, my faithful co-host, Scotty. It is Dallas week, Eagles Cowboys preview coming your way. No Dak Prescott, and just the week overall, it's missing its aura, Scotty. Aura is a big word with the kids nowadays. It's missing its aura this week, man. You got injuries.
No aura.
You got one team at 3. What are they? 3-5 at this point.
3-5, but they look like a one-win team if we're being honest.
So it's missing its juice right now, man. But we're going to try to bring the energy for this show because, as always, it's always fuck Dallas and it's always beat Dallas. And we'll get into that game and how the Eagles can improve to 7-2 and stay right on par with those Washington Commanders that lead the NFC East right now. The Sixers are 1-6 to start the new year. Joel Embiid has 2 more games left on his 3-game suspension for his altercation with Marcus Hayes, eyeing a return Tuesday night at the Wells Fargo Center to take on Trinidad's New York Knicks in game 1 of the NBA Cup for their group. So
all or nothing.
We got a lot to discuss when it comes to the Sixers team. 2 games in for Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey exits Wednesday night early. And we'll miss about a week and a half to 2 weeks minimum with a hamstring tightness, man. So a season from hell after an off season from heaven is very well underway. But we're gonna dive into all of it, all of its ugliness, how they can dig themselves out of this hole that they're in. But if you are new to the channel, subscribe, follow, comment. My man, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, man. And with the Sixers, as you mentioned, what can go wrong will go wrong. We thought this was going to be the best season of Joel's career. It's not near, we're not even near the halfway mark yet, but it quite honestly feels like it could be the worst of his career. Just from the drama aspect, right? I'm kidding. Obviously, this is not worse than Ben Simmons' holdout. This is not worse than James Harden at the strip club in China, like talking about Daryl Morey.
I don't know. I can argue. I can make the argument that from an expectation standpoint, from right now, even without Joel, to those issues, maybe the expectations.
I will say this. When we got James Harden, though, I was like, man, that is the perfect player to go with Joel, to go with Tyrese Maxey, the perfect player to get in exchange for Ben Simmons. We're going to the championship. Like, I did feel that way when we got James Harden. And I think by the time, he was doing that whole thing in China in the offseason, we had already kind of let that ship sail. So maybe it didn't, hurt as much at the time because we saw it coming. But, man, oh, man, what a start to the season. The one thing that we can say, and I think we can agree, maybe, I don't know. I'm going down a bad rabbit hole here. It can't get worse.
No, I don't think it can get worse. And I was also going to throw out there, look, I tweeted out there was a sarcastic undertone in my tweet yesterday that I don't know if a lot of people were catching.
I didn't take it too serious, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's some concern right now. It's very, very ugly and frustrating. But the season is not over 7 games in, right? And even if they are to fall to 1-8 without Joel, I mean, my God, I don't even want to go down that hole, but maybe it's a very big possibility at this point. It still won't be over. And the reason why is we are lucky enough to play in the Eastern Conference this year. And what I mean by that is currently the Sixers hold the worst record in the Eastern Conference. They hold the 2nd worst record overall, right behind the 1-7 Utah Jazz in the entire association. However, they are a game and a half out of a playoff spot at the moment and 2 games out of the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. So that's the thing you can hang your hat on, man, is the fact your 4 seed right now is the Brooklyn Nets at 4-4. The hell, the 3 seed is 4-4 in Indiana. The Hawks are 4-5. They're up there. You had the 3-6 Magic, 3-6 Bulls, the 3-5 Hornets, all teams, the 3-6 Pistons, all teams that you just they're not going to. First of all, I don't even want to call it sustaining anything because it's not even like they're off to a good start. They're just off to a better start than the lowly Sixers right now. But like the Hornets and these aren't going to be teams that are going to be a thorn in your side as long as you do get Joel Embiid back ready to go soon. Tyrese Maxey's not out for a long period of time. And they can get right, man. If they start to hit stride by the new year, everything will be okay. The problem is, Scotty, it's something I was texting you about. You can't just abort the Joel load management plan 7 games in. The problem is, what did we build all this for? If to just be a playing team, because the thought process was we can manage Joel, we can manage, PG, and with this roster, we can still be, a top 6 seed most likely, right? The problem now is they look like one of the worst teams in the NBA. And even if you are to make the playoffs on this pace, what is the point if you're making it as the 7 or 8 seed from a play-in tournament, where then you win after playing a game or two and then have to go and play the Boston Celtics in round 1, or even play like the Pacers or the Knicks or somebody else in round 1 and then play Boston in round 2? Like what is the point? So we built all of this to, get higher seeding than last year, avoid Boston maybe till the Eastern Conference Finals, and then let's clash then. And right now it's not going down that road, and that's the scary part very early on.
Yeah, so this is what I'll ask you, just based off everything you said, and I agree basically with everything that you put out there. This is where they're at. This is where we need them to get to, right, in order for this season to be anything close to a success. And we're just not. We're trending in the complete opposite direction of where we want to be. Out of some of the performances we've seen, or some of the roles that we've seen from players on the team, like what do you think can get better? I guess the way I'm trying to ask it, like, can Eric Gordon be better? Like, will he look so much better with Embiid on the floor? Will Caleb Martin look so much better with Embiid on the floor? And I know this is not even addressing one of your points, which is Embiid load management, because we can't even look at that right now, right? Like, we can't even look at that right now because this team can't win a game without Embiid.
And Scotty, the sad thing is they're really not competitive.
We're going into these matchups.
They've been competitive for about 2 of their 7 games, one of which they beat Indiana on the road, and then obviously the Suns game they should have won. PG's debut, they were very competitive. Outside of that, maybe the first half or so they're competitive. The Pistons game, the Grizzlies game, the Raptors game, this Clippers game, the Bucks game, that second half comes and things just deteriorate immediately for this team. I do think, again, we have to remember just who, in fact, Joel Embiid is. And not only what he's going to do if healthy on a basketball floor, not only can he average 33-plus points and dominate a game himself, how much space and how much easier he's going to make the life for an Eric Gordon, for a Jared McCain, even when he gets on the floor with him, for a Caleb Martin. So, yes, I do think it's all going to look better. That's obviously the ultimate goal. The problem is, like, Caleb Martin's my number 1 target here, man, because I don't know if that shoulder is injured, but I'm getting flashbacks. And we sit here and we mock. We sit here and mock Mikal Bridges before the season starts about a hitch in his shot, and he changes that. There is something wrong. Caleb Martin's always had a little something, a little hitch, and he kicks his legs out kind of. It's a little weird. Dude, he's almost like pushing.
It's like a shot put.
Like literally. And
literally.
Some of them hit the front of the rim. Scotty, dude, he got fouled on the 3-pointer before halftime, and he gets 3 shots, and he misses the first 2. Like, just so bad, man. And that's the thing that I think Joel's going to open up. We have to hope it opens up.
Yeah, you have to.
28% from the 3-point line, under 58% from the free throw line. Now, Joel will help that from himself, but Joel can't help Caleb Martin shoot free throws. He can't help Kelly shoot free throws. He can't help. So, like, they're just not shooting the ball well at all, man. Again, the only 2 games they have, they've been competitive.
Yeah.
But when they every other game,
Yeah.
I feel like they're 27%, 26%, 29% from 3. Multiple games, they've been like 72% from the free throw line as a team. This game, man, 57.9% as an NBA team from the free throw line is fucking disgusting.
Yeah, pitiful. It's pitiful. And, I think a lot of what's going on with the Sixers from the three-point line, I think a lot of it might not be fair. It falls on Tyrese Maxey's shoulders. He's averaging 11 three-point attempts per game. He's only making 3 of them right now. He's shooting 28.6% from the three-point line. 11 of this team's threes. Like, what do they average holistically? Three-point attempts. 36 attempts per game is what they're averaging as a team, as a unit. So 11 of those 36, that's 1/3 of your three-point attempts. And he's making less than a third of his own attempts.
Yeah.
So I think that's like crippling them. You got Kyle Lowry. He's shooting the ball well outside of him.
He was until this Clippers game, and then he came out ice cold in this Clippers
Maybe
game.
Yabusele. Yabuselle's getting 4 attempts a game. He's shooting 38%. But
he only took one the other night.
That can't be your best shooter, man. And that is my one, like, long-term worry for this team is not necessarily shooting, but just scoring the basketball, man. Just like you talked about in the second halves of games, they get ran out of the gym, and it's not like the other team is scoring 130 points. They're scoring 110, 115, 120 maybe, right? Like max.
I mean,
and the Sixers can't get enough buckets. I know Maxey can be better, but, like, it can't just all be on Maxey, on Paul George, on Embiid, right? It's the same thing we've always talked about.
And can I ask you something about – and I get, maybe there was a little bit of a conversation before the game, right? Because I know, like, the day before the game in the morning of Paul George was probable, with knee recovery, whatever, and then he plays. Yeah. And I know, like, towards the – he really didn't have to play in the fourth quarter because they were getting blown out by that point, but – 24 minutes? Like, dude, Maxey didn't even play, like, when did Maxey go out? Like, right before?
Like, right at the end of the third?
He played 32 minutes.
Right.
And he missed a quarter and a half. So Paul George plays 24 minutes. You were texting me. I don't think he played for, like, 8 minutes in the third quarter. Basically sat him a majority of the third quarter. That's when things slipped away. Because I only bring that up to say he was uber efficient. But I'm looking down the shot chart, man. He was 2 for 3 from 3. Paul George can't only take 3 threes for this team. 7 for 9 from the field. Caleb Martin took 10 shots. Tyrese Maxey took 13. Kelly Oubre took 12.
And that is so frustrating to see Maxey or, like, Paul George, like, driving to the lane and, like, passing out to Caleb Martin 3. Like,
also, not just that, brother.
Our shots a little bit better, man.
Turnovers in this game.
That
first hit, and we were tied
jumping in the air and not having a decision made before you jump in the air. It's just
tied at
halftime
happening on the road, and I mean, I want to say they probably had 15 turnovers before half.
Yeah,
it was ugly basketball, man, and they stayed in the game, and then but that's the point, man. You can't play that brand of basketball and expect a team not to bury you when you can't take advantage of it early.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to throw something else to you, man. Nick Nurse. I mean,
I was going to bring that up as the next point of
the inconsistencies. Like, it's not even the inconsistencies. Although this game specifically, Yabusele not involved after knocking down 5 threes in the previous matchup against the Suns.
I mean, the same thing with Jared McCain. Jared McCain scored 17 or 19 points last Saturday. His very next game, I think he played 3 minutes.
3 minutes. And he had a good stretch in the game.
He hit a 3. Now, listen, I brought this up. I joined Phil had me on Trending in the AM this past week. Yeah. And I did bring up after that game in Paul George's debut, McCain hit a 3. He was 1 for 2. But in back-to-back possessions, he was caught staring at the top of the key.
On defense,
and got beat backdoor for dunks. And I think Nurse immediately called a timeout and said, come sit with me for a little bit. So that probably had a decent amount. That's growing pains. But again, you can't just – I know he's young and you're going to give the vets more leadway, but you can't punish the young kid on a learning curve, but allow some of these veterans to go out there and just bury your team. Like, dude, I'm sorry. Yeah. Caleb Martin is putting this team in harm's way with some of his decision-making and some of his shot choices. like in critical positions. Like this
Yeah.
dude's taking corner 3 after corner 3, driving to the lane, getting blocked, looking like
Yeah.
he's got to be so much better, man. I think the overall topic is the vision. Obviously, this team's going nowhere with Joel. I think we knew that. We hope they'd be better than this, but they're not, competing for anything without Joel Embiid. So the hope is, okay, Joel and Paul George and Caleb Martin between them. I'm going to venture to say Caleb Martin looks a little better between the 2 or 3 of those stars, right?
Yeah.
But the issue is we needed him to be better without them. The Nick Nurse point. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to make of it. I'm not going to overreact again. We're 7 games in, and you're missing your MVP. Paul George has only played 2 games. Now you're down Maxey. Like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
But I'm uninspired, man. And I did see a tweet earlier, and it makes a little bit of sense. And basically, it was alluding to the fact that people are getting very frustrated with Nick Nurse and the Sixers offense without Joel Embiid because, they're not creating anything. And the bottom line is that's just Nick Nurse's offense. His offense is very simple, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it only really works at a high level when the talent's out there, and that talent being Joel and Maxey and all together. So when those stars are stripped away, there's no real new wrinkles coming in. And I don't know what to make of that because in one point, again, I understand, like, we're not going anywhere without Joel, so you can't evaluate them too harshly from that perspective. But
what makes him
you're
better
a head coach in the NBA, bro. Like, what makes you better than Brett Brown at that point?
Yeah, what makes him
better? And again, I do want to throw out the fact, I like Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse can get this team over the hump. And this is only year what? Is this year 3 of Nick or is this only year 2? This is only year 2. Yeah, he was only here last year. That's right. We're a little a year and 7 games in to his tenure. You got to get us past the second round. Like, yeah, you have a title in Toronto, and you're viewed as this, this kind of beautiful basketball mind. If you don't get Joel Embiid past the second round, obviously blame goes on Joel Embiid. But what makes you different than Brett Brown or Doc Rivers being here? Nothing. So I'm just uninspired by Nick Nurse right now, and I think not only is it the play on the basketball court, man. I understand it's frustrating to deal with all that's going on to start the year if you're him and you're being asked about it every day by the media. I get it. But you have to know that shit's coming. And just I don't even want to call it the attitude or aggressiveness towards the media about some of the questions, but like he's asked about Maxey, man, and I get it, but like don't speak on it then. When asked about Maxey after the game, he says it was just precautionary. Nothing seems to be a problem. 12 hours later, Tyrese Maxey's out for 2 weeks. Like, if you don't know, if you haven't addressed the training staff, the doctors, and Maxey himself, just say, I haven't seen. I see NFL coaches do that all the time. I got to get in there. I haven't gone over anything yet. I'll get back to you guys. Instead, you come out, just precautionary. Oh, next thing you know, Tyrese Maxey's missing 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on with this organization, dude?
I think, the thing for me with Nurse that is just really, really concerning from my perspective is that I'm just getting the same vibes that I got from Doc Rivers, man. And it's an offense that can't operate without Embiid. Like, that's what you just described to me, which if you can't run an offense without a guy like an Embiid,
then how are you so
what the hell
great?
is the difference between you, Doc Rivers, and the next guy down the bench? Like, anybody can design an offense around a top 5 player in the world. Like, I want to see an offense that's free-flowing, that isn't looking like a log jam all the time, that it doesn't have players just standing around, man. Like, we watch these different teams every week, and they don't have their stars every time, but they come out and they compete, they play hard.
Man, that is my fucking biggest gripe.
Exactly,
forget the Clippers
man.
Game, forget the close game against the Suns.
The
We talk about
Raptors.
this every time without Joel Embiid. The Raptors, not just the lowly Raptors who are 2-7 to start the year, just like we're as bad as we are. In that game, they had no RJ Barrett, Kelly Olynyk, Emmanuel Quickly, and Bruce Brown.
Yeah, and more, right? Like, even more
and
than
you,
that.
You got
Still
blown
lose.
the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, so
And they look
if
stuck. They look
the
stuck at
Raptors
times.
coach, if the Grizzlies coach without Desmond Bane and Marcus Smart and everybody else that they were missing in that game, dude, if they can create offense and create looks and create a system that works, like, again, to your point, what do you do then?
Yeah.
Like,
because when they get to a stretch, and it happened against the Clippers the other night in the third quarter, maybe it was because Maxey tweaked his hamstring and that's why he couldn't do anything about it. But they go stretches without being able to score the basketball. And it's
Scotty,
like,
bro,
you pass out of a drive and it goes to Caleb Martin. He misses a three in the corner. And now all of a sudden he missed a three. Hesitant to shoot. And now you got another drive and you're passing it out to another shooter that he missed. And it just is like running your head into a brick fucking wall.
And I'm texting you, like, what did they finish the third quarter with? 2 points in the final, like, 4.5 minutes? 2 points in almost 5 fucking minutes of action.
And I don't care who's on the floor. You should be able to score more points than that. Guys should be able to go to the foul line, get to the free throw line if you're going through a struggling moment. And that's what I was waiting for against the Clippers, was somebody to take the reins. Take control of the offense and get your team a bucket. Maxey, they're running this drive and kick offense, right? It's just drive, dribble into a wall, pass out. And they just kept doing it until the end of the shot clock. Nobody is even looking at the rim.
Yeah.
And that's my problem. I don't know if it's nerves, if it's effort, if it's focus. What the hell is it? Because it isn't basketball.
I just want to ask you, because we had his points 2 games ago against Phoenix, and you look at him on Wednesday night in LA. He was 8 for 12, 18 points in 25 minutes. He was very, very efficient. Why is it that, like, and I like Caleb Martin. I think Caleb Martin's going to be a very helpful piece to this team come playoff time between Embiid and PG and Maxey. But why is it, like, you're talking about this offense that can't get buckets? Yeah. And we're questioning Nick Nurse. Why is Caleb Martin kind of taking over the Kelly Oubre, like, offensive role? You talk about standing in the corner. Yeah. Kelly's the one that gets put in the corner, and Caleb's the one running DHOs and driving to the lane. Like, brother, Caleb Martin played 6 more minutes, only took 2 less shots, shot 9 more free throws, and scored 4 less points. Kelly Oubre was 8 of 12 the other night and 1 for 1 from the free throw line in 25 minutes.
Oubre was getting minutes in the fourth quarter with the backups.
Right.
He was in there playing with the Jared McCains and the Reggie Jacksons. So a bunch of his minutes came in that segment of the game where it's already gone.
I'm just talking from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah.
You can't get a bucket. That's a guy, especially on a night he's hot. That's a guy that you can put the ball in his hands at the top of the key, and he can drive and he can penetrate and create. Instead, you're letting fucking Caleb Martin do it, which should never be his role. You need him to shoot better from 3, yes, but I don't need Caleb Martin taking 1 more shot than Paul fucking George.
Yeah, getting more minutes than Paul George and Kelly Oubre. It makes 0 sense, man.
And you can't tell me that, like, it was something with the knee. And again, I know they're not just going to throw him right back to the Wolves and just let him go out there and play as much as he wants. But I'm just trying to go back to the Phoenix game real quick, just to make sure I get the numbers right here.
Who are we talking about?
Like PG. So you come out in his debut and say he's going to be on a little bit of a minutes restriction. He's 4 of 14. He's not shooting well. You play him 32 minutes and give him the last shot. He gets a day off. They come back to action in his return to LA. He's hot from the jump, and you only play him 24 minutes. What are we doing?
Yabusele, 30 minutes, 5 for 11 from the 3-point line against Phoenix. 10 minutes in the game against LA.
And I know he fouled out towards the end, so it's probably like 2 minutes off. But Caleb Martin played 7 more minutes than Kelly Oubre against Phoenix.
Yeah.
39
he was
32 minutes.
Second behind Maxey on the most minutes of the entire team. It's interesting, man. It's not necessarily against Caleb Martin. It's not necessarily his fault. It's more just the usage, the minutes distribution from Nick Nurse that just, quite honestly, just doesn't make sense, man. And I do like. I want to get back to the other point that I had with Nurse, which is it's around Jared McCain, but it is just around like the idea of giving the young guys a chance as well. Like Ricky Council, like Ricky Council can't get any minutes when you need a bucket. Like when you are ramming your head against the wall and cannot get a bucket. Jared McCain, even I saw this
I'm
tweet.
1,000% with you. Go ahead.
This tweet regarding Maxey being out from Adam Aronson, Sixers Adam. Nick Nurse's plan in the interim without Tyrese Maxey, he said Kyle Lowry starts at point guard, Reggie Jackson backs him up, and Nurse said two-way point guard Jeff Doughton Jr. will also be in the mix. Jeff Doughton before McCain? Like what are we doing? Reggie Jackson, fine. He's got experience.
Right.
Jeff Doughton, and I get it. Jared McCain's not a point guard, but Tyrese Maxey is not really a point guard either. So, I don't understand the logic, bro. Like, I'm not trying to harp too much, but you're going to run Kyle Lowry into the ground in the regular season. Like, he'll be done by the playoffs regardless.
Yeah, I just think you have to, especially without Joel, and you're trying to fit these pieces of the puzzle together. I think you just have to take it a game by game basis. And so in Phoenix, Lowry and Gordon were very good. I'm fine with giving them minutes.
I am too. Yeah, I don't want that to get misconstrued.
But when Kyle Lowry comes out, the Sixers offense is struggling. He comes out and goes 0 for 3 in the first half. You don't want to give someone else a look. Jared McCain 1,000% for, but I've said it since the beginning of the year. I'm confused how a NBA champion in Reggie Jackson, because let's not act like he was a bench warmer for the Denver Nuggets. He was the backup point guard on the Nuggets championship team. 2 years ago?
Yeah,
that
and
guy
he can get buckets.
Yes, that's my point. He can create by him. He doesn't need an action. Buckets. He doesn't need anything. That's why I want Kelly to get the ball more than Caleb. They are guys that when your offense is struggling, they might not be the most efficient, and I get it. If Kelly Oubre Jr. starts out,
get to the bucket,
right? If Kelly starts 2 for 8, you're not just going to keep running the same Kelly Oubre Jr. motion over and over and over again. But you got to give it a shot. Same thing with Reggie Jackson, man. The dude can get his own bucket off the dribble. He can shoot at all 3 levels. He can shoot from deep. He can get to the rim. He can do everything. Give him a little bit of run, because while Kyle Lowry is that veteran presence, he's been very good from 3 before the Clippers game. He's been solid this year. Kyle Lowry's not creating offense off the fucking dribble, dude.
Right.
He's not.
Right.
So let someone else try to.
Right.
Just until you're healthy. And my question to you, man, I know we're going to move on in a second to the Eagles Cowboys. He did it last year too. I want to know how one missing guard, how one missing player now means 2 or 3 new players are going to get into the rotation. So you have had, since the beginning of the year at the guard position, you have ran a mixture, at least a little bit, of Tyrese Maxey, Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, a little bit of Jared McCain, and really no Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
Kyle, Eric, Reggie, Maxey, McCain. You have 5 guards you have played at least a little bit of.
Yeah.
Maxey goes down. What the fuck do you need Jeff Doughton Jr. in for? I'm not saying he might have just said that, whatever. What do you need Jeff Doughton Jr. to get run for now?
It's one of his guys.
You're going to put him in. Man. You're going to put him in over McCain or Reggie Jackson.
Lowry is a guy. He gets massive minutes. Doughton is this weird guy that, came along with Nurse at some point. He played for him previously, and he's going to get minutes, right? And that's what rubs me the wrong way, because even further than McCain, even at the guard spot, and I know this is saying a lot, give me some Ricky Council at the 2 guard, man. Give me some athleticism, some explosion at the 2 guard. I'm not asking for much, and I know we're sitting here talking about Ricky Councils and Reggie Jacksons and Jared McCain, rookies. And
yeah,
it is the difference, though, when you're playing not the Celtics of the world, but the Pistons and the Raptors and the Grizzlies. That's where these smaller roles are going to play bigger parts, and that's what we're not seeing with this team, man. I'm looking at the Clippers game the other night, right? Why the fuck is it that Norman Powell can just come out and get 26 on us like it's nothing and lead the Clippers to a victory? He shoots 8 for 10 from the field, man. Like, why is it that can happen? Why is it that in the third quarter, James Harden goes on a scoring spree and there's nothing we can do about it? We can't score on the other end and we can't stop it.
Yeah.
That's like stuff that needs fixed without Embiid. There's other things that can be fixed by Embiid, like playing against the Celtics or playing against the Knicks or other top contenders in the East or the top contenders in the West. Sure.
I'm back looking at this game. How did we only lose by 12?
Yeah, I don't know. It felt way worse.
No, honestly, first of all, the Clippers shot out of this fucking world.
Yeah, 43% from the three-point line.
57% from the floor. 16 of 19 from the free throw line. Less turnovers. We turned the ball over 20 times, shot 28% from 3 and under 58% from the free throw line, and lost by 12. If you just value the basketball and make your free throws, you're in the ball game.
Yep.
And that's part of the problem. That's why it comes down to Nick Nurse a little bit, because, I mean, you have to just do the little things, especially when you're missing the talent right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. and I think, look, I think Drummond, I was all over him with the Phoenix game. He has had some lows so far. But again, I think when we talk about the Drummond experience, again, it's not why he's here. Like, yeah, he's here to play a game here and there while they load manage Joel. He's not here to start 7, 8, 9, 10 games in a row. And when Joel plays, he's only going to play 10 to 12 minutes, 13 minutes. So it's like the Drummond experience I'm okay with. He's not going to be playing against the other star centers or the guys that can pull him away from the basket. He's going to be playing against backups for the most part as well, when they match some of those minutes, especially in the postseason. So we'll see about that. But
you gotta think about it, like you said, with Joel back in the picture, because that's the idea. If Joel is in the picture, you have a chance. If Joel is not, you do not. So like that is the picture we're looking at least for holistic point of view.
Yeah.
But when you look at it with Joel, you'll have the option at backup center now. You can go with a guy like Yabusele that is more of the floor spacer, lesser of a rebounder, right? Lesser of an impact inside. Or if the matchup fits, you can bring in Drummond, who's that super rebounder, that force inside. Right. So you do have a good selection, like a good option once Joel is taking most of those minutes at center. It's just right now, like you said, you got Drummond playing back-to-back games where it's required of him to go 25, 30-plus minutes. That's not his role, especially at this point in his career, let alone like at any point in his career. So,
right.
Yeah, Brian. It's funny. Your last name is Pumper, because golly, that is what I'm talking about. Because when Caleb Martin, if he misses the first one, and most of the time if he misses, it's barely grazing the front of the rim. It's so disgusting. But he does. After he misses that first one, if it doesn't go right, he's just sitting there, pump fake man, Mr. Pump Fake. It is fairly annoying. He's got to be better. Team has to be better. We get those performances against the Pacers. We get those performances against the Suns where, for my money, they should have won that game against the Suns. Maxey going on a little bit of a tear in the second half. You should have found a way to win that game, but that was it's a top 2 performance this year, right?
Yeah.
If you can get that against the 5-1 at the time Suns, why can't I get that against the Pistons or the Grizzlies and you'll actually win that game?
Correct.
That's the problem right now.
Correct.
They've shown
and those are the games. Right. And I think that's the biggest issue. We're going to move on here, but the biggest issue is, we were all a little up in arms to start the year when we thought they were load managing Joel on night 1. And we're sitting here. That can't be the game you load manage him on. If I'm picking out the schedule, I'm going to look at a game against Detroit in November. I'm going to look against the Hornets in December. Right now, they're not even competitive for the most part in those games, Scotty. So that's the biggest problem. They need to shoot better. When Maxey returns, he needs to play better.
Yeah.
Nurse
I think that could fix
and they need to get help.
A lot, too. We didn't touch on Maxey too much. He's injured now. I think him being more efficient could fix a lot.
For sure. So. All right, let's switch gears into this Eagles-Cowboys matchup because, as always, it's beat Dallas week. It's fuck Dallas. No Dak Prescott for the Cowboys, possibly no CeeDee Lamb. We know they've been injured on defense for the past couple of weeks. 3-5 We talked about them on Turf Talk last night, a little bit about Jerry Jones and his decision-making at the trade deadline, trading a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo. Woo! What a difference maker, Jer. So we got a lot to get into, man, before we wrap up the show. I want to read you this exchange that I was just sent a few minutes ago that I was reading.
Yeah.
Just between Nick Sirianni and a reporter at this press conference. I don't know if you saw this. I guess a day or two ago, Jalen Hurts was on the injury report for rest. Did you see that?
No, I did not see that.
So he had like a day off for rest, they said, right? Okay. Question to Nick. We haven't really seen Jalen be held back for load management before. What was behind that on Wednesday? Nick Sirianni. Yeah, he was dealing with it. It was on the injury report, dealing with the ankle and, making sure we're cautious with everything. Question. He wasn't on the injury report with an ankle. I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts, it was an ankle injury. Nick Sirianni. What's that? Eagles PR. It was, quote, rest. Nick Sirianni. It was a rest. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were talking about something else. Question. Is Jalen dealing with an ankle problem? Nick Sirianni. No, rest. So, I don't look.
Nick Sirianni, man. Like, his communication, he needs to, go to some sermons in the offseason and learn how to talk to people. Because I think, I don't know what he does in the locker room, but him to the media, I mean, he just sounds like an idiot.
First of all,
honestly, all the time.
I agree. And the other thing is, with everything we just discussed with the Sixers and how they have handled their stars injuries to start the year and to the public and to the media. God, I do not need some underlying secrets from the Eagles right now.
Yeah.
You list Jalen as rest and he's dealing with a fucking ankle injury, an ankle that possibly he's had issues with in the past. And it's just like, come on, man. So I just want to throw that out there. I sent that about 10 minutes ago.
I'm checking Sleeper now because they get the alternative sources, I feel like, just to kind of fact check shit. So I want to see if they actually had this in the day-to-day tracker. Let me find out who has Jalen in this league. But it is interesting because I was going through, I wanted to see maybe he got confused with Smitty or something because I know Smitty was dealing with something.
Right.
Smitty's is a hamstring, so that's not.
Is Jalen Carter on the injury report for an ankle?
Nah.
All right. Well, that was the only other one that would make sense to me.
Another good sign from the injury report is that AJ Brown is not on there as well. I know that it's been talked about, but still good to see it, right? Because Smitty actually was on the injury report with a hamstring tweak. But no, Sleeper does not have any hint of Jalen questionable, Jalen injuries, and Sleeper's usually pretty good with that, man. So let's just hope that it was a brain dead mistake by Nick Sirianni. Let's just hope for the best, I guess. But definitely, it seems we're in a better spot than the Cowboys, at least, going into this game.
Yeah. So those moments tend to happen when it comes to Nick Sirianni. But let's take a peek at this Cowboys matchup, man, because no Dak Prescott. However, Mr. Cooper Rush, 5-1 as a starter in the National Football League. The man just wins games, Scotty. Traded a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance last offseason to back up Dak Prescott if he ever went down. Dak goes down. No, we will not start the younger athletic quarterback we gave up a top 4-round draft pick for. We are going to go back to the well. We're going to start Cooper Rush because we are not giving up on this season yet. I don't care if you saw Dak Prescott saying we fucking suck on the sideline. I don't care if we're 3-5. I don't care if we can't stop a nosebleed. I don't care if we can't run the ball. I don't care if no one else but CeeDee Lamb can be productive on the outside. I don't care. We're not giving up, says Jerry Jones. Cooper Rush gets the start. I can't wait for this game on Sunday, man. I know it doesn't have the overall juice. It has more juice when both teams are healthy, when it's Dak versus Jalen, when both teams are good and competitive and fighting for the division. Not to say a Cowboys win, can't keep them in things, but we see the direction and how they've been playing, even in some of their wins, throughout this little streak right now. It doesn't have the same juice. However, you have the Commanders on a short week at home after this. This can't be some sort of trap, right? This can't be they're shorthanded. We have a division, lead battle on Thursday night looking ahead. I need the Eagles to show up, because if they do so, man, it will give me a little bit more confidence, not only in the players, but in the head coach that we question, right? Because there have been moments in the past that we question this team's will and want to. Not this season, but the end of last year and how things have gone down. We question showing up for this coach. And when you're looking ahead to Washington at 7-2, potentially 8-2 as we get into Thursday night football, it's very easy to go, let's just get this over with. Let's fly back home. Let's get ready for them. You go in to Dallas, shorthanded or not, beat up or not, and you thump them the way I'm expecting you to. That will tell me a lot about this team's character, I would say. Not about the talent. We know they have all the talent in the world, but it will tell me a little bit more about how business-like and business-ready they are on Sunday afternoon. Yeah. Because if you go in and Jalen continue, because that's another thing. Has Jalen won in Dallas yet in his career? I think I saw a stat about that the other day. He has not beaten the Cowboys in Jerry World in his career. Obviously, again, they're not fully healthy. It's not quite the same, but we've seen early on in Jalen's career. Remember the deer and headlights game on Monday Night Football 2 or 3 years ago?
Definitely remember that one. Yeah.
Christmas Day, did he play in that one, or was that a backup game? No, he played in that one. Or Christmas Eve, 2 years ago when we played them, we lost. So I believe he hasn't beaten Dallas in Dallas. And again, it's just if he goes in and protects the football, Saquon Barkley has chewed up the Cowboys in his career. A.J. Brown is on track to play. Smitty's on track to play. Goddard might make a return this week, man. So just handle business is the first and foremost thing at the front of my brain right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I see the Cowboys have owned the Eagles at home most of the last decade, winning 6 straight in Texas in the series. Nick Sirianni says that doesn't mean anything to us. So yeah, I definitely feel that. Last game last season, 33-13 loss in Dallas back in December. So definitely some rights to wrong here. I do agree with your sentiment that this is one you need to go out and take care of business early in. You can't look past this game, obviously. It's in division. It's always an important game. And I think just from a confidence standpoint, in a season where the Dallas Cowboys, this is a clear down year for them. You're catching them in their most down spot that they've been in the entire season. During a season where they have sucked. They haven't been good at football. It's not just Dak Prescott turning the ball over. It's not just the offense inability to run the football. Their defense has been horrible. Their corners are beat up on the outside. Micah Parsons hasn't played much this year. DeMarcus Lawrence hasn't played much this year. They're not getting a ton up front, right? So everything that could go wrong, that has gone wrong, it has, right, for the Dallas Cowboys this season. And I think this is a spot where you have nothing really to gain here as the Eagles, right? Like, this isn't going to prove that you're a Super Bowl contender. Yeah. This isn't going to, make you look better than the Commanders, like, at the end of the day. That's not what this is going to do. But what it can do, if you lose this game, one, it can hurt you in the NFC standings, obviously. It can hurt you in the NFC standings. But even further than that, it's a saving grace for the Cowboys season where they could look back and say, at least we won one against Philly. They still couldn't beat us twice. So, as petty as that sounds, I know it sounds very petty. You need to go out and show that you're definitively better than the Dallas Cowboys this season.
Correct.
Because you are. You are.
Correct.
And if you're not, that's a very big red flag this year, because what do the Eagles do well? What's their identity that they've established over the last couple of weeks? Running the fucking football with Saquon Barkley. What does the Cowboys defense suck unimaginably at? Stopping the run. This makes for a blowout for my money, man. They need to come out.
Let's not forget
early.
Let's not forget who's calling plays for this team.
It's a revenge game.
Revenge spot on the opposing sideline this time, and I think just from a Nick Sirianni perspective, stay the fuck
run
out
it
of
up.
The way. Let Kellen do his thing, and that's my point. I don't want to see like this head fog of,
Yeah.
trying to do too much
Stay out
in
of the way.
Dallas week and forcing the ball down the field and having Jalen throw 37 times.
Going
If
for
that
it on
happens,
4th and
man,
4, right?
I don't think it's going to happen. I think they have learned
He knows he needs a clean
who
week
they
this
are.
week. He needs a
And
clean week.
I do agree. Look, I think, from one point of view, there isn't much to gain. Okay, cool. Like you beat the Cowboys and you beat the Cowboys with Cooper Rush. Like, cool,
Yeah.
right? There isn't anything on the table for people to look at and go, no, the Eagles are real. No, like that's the mind changer for me. They are real. They're a threat in the NFC.
Right.
But I do think there is something to a team's hunger and a team's character, like I was saying earlier, where I think that is something that you can still win people over in a positive way. Maybe not on the outside looking in, maybe not the national media and other people, but for people like me, people like you, like I said,
They could win me over like a 35 to like 10.
Yeah, because this is just such a typical overthink, get in your own way type of spot. Jalen, maybe his turnover, turnoverless streak comes to an end and we're in a tight game down the stretch against Cooper Rush. It's just so typical. But if you go in again with what is coming up, Washington's coming up twice. Baltimore's coming up on the road. You have these big time games. If you show me that you can handle this little roadblock in the way right now that is an injured Dallas Cowboy team, then that'll speak volumes to me, because I think it's not just about talent, man. Like they are one of the most loaded rosters in football. There's a character builder. There's chemistry. There's different things that go into winning. The standard, 1,000%. And I think, especially think about what that link's going to look like Thursday Night Football. You come home with a convincing win against the Dallas Cowboys, 7-2 versus 8-2 or 7-3 Washington Commanders. That place is going to be pumping. You don't want to let your foot off the gas. You are building such great momentum right now, to where, God forbid, you go on the road and have a letdown game and lose this one. Is it putting a fork in your season? Absolutely not. But you're taking 2 steps backwards.
But brother, I mean, should this Cowboys offense, like what is an acceptable point total from the Dallas Cowboys this week with no Dak, beat up CD, and just their team in general? Like even with Dak, I'm not sure that the point total should
I think in the NFL, man, I think if you allow less than 20 points in a game in the NFL, it's a good week. I mean, again, it would be weird to think, like, with how well they played the Bengals and some other teams and the Jags even, it'd be weird to think Cooper Rush is going to, right. It's going to be weird if Cooper Rush scores 3 touchdowns in this game or whatever.
Right.
But if the Eagles win 34-21, I don't think anyone's going to be complaining, but I do. Yeah. If your defense is averaging less than 20 points a game given up, you're playing very, very solid football. And again, it's just the balance, because that's what they've been doing recently. And you have an offense that, if you're only allowing 20, 21 points a game, you have an offense that you are going to beat in every single ball game the rest of the way. Yeah. You're going to have a great chance to win it with this offense if the defense is playing that way.
That confidence on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's another week where they should be able to get turnovers. Yeah. They should be able to dominate from a mindset standpoint, right? And that's what they got to build going into some of these bigger matchups with the Commanders, with the Ravens, with the Steelers, where they're going to need confidence on top of the skill, right? They need to know their roles and know what they're doing out there. Wanted to ask you something about this comment. Not like throwing this, too much in Goddard's direction, but Calcaterra has been honestly great in his Goddard's absence.
If Dallas Goedert
last game, I did not know that Calcaterra actually had a connection previously with Hurts at Oklahoma, and was one of his tight ends at Oklahoma. So maybe a little bit more chemistry.
I didn't know that either. I would say over the last 3 or 4 weeks, this winning streak since Dallas Goedert went down, if Dallas Goedert was producing the numbers that Grant Calcaterra was, I would say that's a very successful offense we're running. I think one game he had like 5 for 70 or 80 or something. Yeah. Another game he had like 3 or 4 for 50 something. If Dallas Goedert, between AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley, is getting you anywhere from 45 to 75 yards on 3 to 5 receptions, I think you're running a very efficient offense. So obviously Goddard brings a little bit more big playability than Calcaterra is going
Yeah.
to. He's the bigger star, right? But if he's just in the mix that way, then it's fine. I don't think you have to get rid of Calcaterra at all. I think you can definitely leave him in the mix because I don't think, especially in a week like this where Dallas is beat up, I don't think you need to rush Dallas Goddard back from a hamstring injury or a groin injury.
Two sides to it. It's a good game to get him initiated as well, though.
But he doesn't have to be playing 88% of the snaps. No pun intended with his number, but
no, I definitely feel you.
Yeah,
it is interesting, man, because I looked at the numbers just to see, and Calcaterra is right behind Dallas Goedert for 4th on the team in receiving yards. He has like 216. Goddard has 300. Goddard's played 5 games, but that Cleveland game doesn't really count. That's the one he got injured in. Meanwhile, Calcaterra's gotten maybe 4 games where he's gotten the boatload of the work.
Yeah.
And he's already approaching what Goddard had. Not trying to throw Goddard under the bus. I'm curious if there's more chemistry. Just trust from Jalen to get Calcaterra. He's going to be in that spot.
Just like having another weapon that you can rely on down the stretch. I think that's just it, right? I think, because I know with Goddard you have the pass catching ability, you have the route runner, and they like to carry that other tight end that's really more of the blocker, right?
Yeah.
But I do think Kellen Moore can get creative with both of them with Goddard and Calcaterra line up on the field together in a play action pass, a play action bootleg, a little one sit down, one's a crosser, whatever it is. So I think there's ways you can continue to use both. With that said, we're going to leave our keys to victory and all for Sunday show on the pregame show. So I think that is just about going to do it, man. On this Friday afternoon,
Michkov benched or scratched, whatever.
Healthy scratched. Yeah, forgot to throw that in there. Put it in the description for the show, obviously, because it is big news when it comes to the Flyers.
Yeah,
different ways to look at it, right? I mean, it's not a punishment. Like I think people are taking it too far. It's not a punishment. It's not to say that he's been bad by any means. He's young, and I guess, I've seen people that follow the sport way more than I do, people that follow the team way more than I do, talk about how there is just it's not the same as going back and watching tape. Seeing it from the press box, watching it probably next to Danny Briere and these other guys, just seeing things that he's not picking up on the ice right now at this age can be helpful. It's just from a fan perspective, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird message, just because you want to develop them, you want to grow them, but to sit the most promising thing you have going for you as a somewhat bad franchise right now is off-putting to people. So it's kind of
bag. It's kind of like how we feel about McCain right now in the Sixers rotation, but on steroids, right?
Yeah, just on a whole nother level,
on a whole other plane. Get this guy on the rink and get him some experience. And it does still, even if he's not, performing up to what they believe he should or whatever it is that they want to see from him, it's still exciting for the fans to get to go and see this star in the making and see him through his growth process. Right. So
now,
hopefully,
to be fair, it was a road game in Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
and they won the game, right? So it's
maybe it was good
weird.
to see.
What'd you say?
No, maybe it was good to see, like you were saying, to sit back and just watch what's happening.
Yeah,
obviously,
there's just a different view, right? And especially, like I said, what if he's watching the game between Jonesy and Danny Briere, and as he's watching things and picking up on things he doesn't see from an ice level in the mix, he's also got them in his ear pointing things out, and he's just. When you have a kid like that, a star like that at this age, he's just receptive to all that information. That information's not going out one ear, in one ear, out the other for him. So he's going to soak all of that in. So I think it was an overreaction from some fans to be extremely pissed off. But I do think it's a little bit of bad optics when it comes to
that's a good way to put it.
How this Flyers team looks, because I think some people take it as a demotion, as a punishment. They're not playing well. Well, it's not this kid's fault. Well, no one said it's his fault. But I think there was a good point. The thing that Danny Briere said about Jet Luchenko, sending him back down, Danny Briere said, I don't care about Jet Luchenko in 5 days. I care about Jet Luchenko in 5 years.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. I don't care about Matvei Michkov tomorrow. I care
Yeah.
about Matvei Michkov 2 years from now, 3. Like, that's what we're
What's gonna
looking to
help him the
build
most.
towards. The fans aren't going to have as much patience as you need them to, but you just have to continue to do things the way that they're doing them. So,
Yeah.
we'll see, man, how they continue to handle that Michkov situation. Eagles pregame show Sunday afternoon against
Yes,
the Cowboys,
sir.
getting into our keys to victory, game predictions, standout stars, best bets, all of that. We'll also be live Sunday morning with NFL Turf Talk, breaking down the Week 10 slate, double digits, man. So weird how time obviously just continues to
Flies
fly
by.
by when it comes to football season. If you are new to the channel, make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help yourself out, help us out, share it out, like it, whatever you got to do to continue to grow it. For myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of your weekend.
Happy Friday.